In a Los Angeles suburb, helicopters swirl above the home of Matthew Perry, one of television's great entertainers. This now the scene of his death. Police were called to a report of a drowning in this hot tub. A crime scene tent has been erected, but there's no sign of foul play here. Earlier this week, Perry posted a picture of himself in the same hot tub. "Oh, so warm water swirling around you feels good," he wrote. Police were tonight guarding the street leading to the house. Matthew Perry's home is less than 100 yards up this road. It was around 4 p.m. that law enforcement reportedly entered that house and found the star unresponsive. The investigation into his death is ongoing. Neighbours in this upmarket community were shocked.
He was very nice, and he had done this, redone this house for like a couple of years, and he was finally moving in.
Very sad after all those years, Matthew being on TV and everything.
He was a real fighter, wasn't he?
Completely, no. And especially through what he's gone through and what you've heard about him in the past, with, I'm not sure, of addictions and whatever. I was very sad, but at the same time I did kind of expect it in a sense.
Perry had been a child actor, but was launched to superstardom by the release of Friends in the mid-1990s.
Oh, sorry, did I get you? No, you didn't get me. It's an electric drill. You get me, you kill me.
Matthew Perry was a man to whom comedy seemed to come so easy. But off-camera, life was, by his own admission, difficult. He was loved around the world for the wry humour he injected into the role of Chandler Bing. But in his 2022 memoir, Perry wrote about nearly being destroyed by drugs.
Fame does one thing that really hurts alcoholics, which is it makes them feel that if they buy into the press, it makes them feel that they're different. And that's something that we can't have.
Online tributes were aplenty for a man who was as talented as he was troubled. Maggie Wheeler, who starred as Janice in Friends alongside Perry, wrote, "The world will miss you, Matthew Perry. The joy you brought to so many in your too short lifetime will live on." Another actor, Mira Savino, wrote, "Oh no, Matthew Perry, you sweet, troubled soul. May you find peace and happiness in heaven, making everyone laugh with your singular wit." Outside the Friends apartment building in New York, fans began to leave flowers for an actor whose fame spanned generations. For them, Chandler Bing and Matthew Perry will live on. Martha Kellner, Sky News, Los Angeles.
Well, Sky's Rachel Venables is here with me, and as you'd expect, a huge outpouring of tributes to Matthew Perry online.
Yes, and those tributes just keep coming in thick and fast, many of them from the world of Hollywood, many of them actors and stuff, people who knew him, who worked with him, but also just people around the world who loved his work, who loved Friends. I'll start with Friends. I mean, the official Friends and Warner Brothers accounts has posted a tribute overnight saying they are devastated to learn of Matthew Perry's passing. They've described him as a true gift to all of us. Also, many of the tributes, interestingly enough, referring to his addictions, his mental health struggles, which you heard a little bit about there in Martha Kellner's piece. Piers Morgan, in fact, tweeting, "R.I.P. Matthew Perry. The Friends star was a great actor, but by his own admission, a very tormented guy." And he goes on to talk about his recent autobiography, saying about his addiction-ravaged life, one of the most powerful, honest and revealing I've ever read. And I think that's a key part of who Matthew Perry was, both the comedy and the acting ability, but also the addiction, the mental health problems, and the fact that he chose so publicly later on in life to talk about it. Interestingly, also, of course, people just talking about the loss of a friend. Meredith Salinger, the actor who starred with Perry in the movie A Night in the Life of Jimmy Reardon, has said her heart breaks. She said they've known each other since they were 16 years old. No words, rest in peace. And even the Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, the two of them were at school together, talking about Matthew Perry's passing being shocking and saddening. He says, "I'll never forget the schoolyard games we used to play, and I know people around the world are never going to forget the joy he brought them."
OK, Rachel, thanks very much indeed. Well, let's get a little bit more on this. We can bring in Sean Mandel, who's an entertainment journalist in Los Angeles now. And Sean, thanks for talking to us. Matthew Perry is such a huge figure in TV comedy. This news is going to come as a real shock to a lot of people.
Already been send shockwaves throughout the entertainment world, throughout Hollywood, throughout just people who, the world of people who watched Friends. I personally, when I found out the news just minutes after it was posted, shouted audibly in just confusion. And that was the reaction that I've heard from many other people I know who work in all aspects of the industry. He was only 54 years old. And of course, he had major health struggles in addition to his addiction struggles, which he had been very open about. But I think it was something that just caught people completely off guard and not something that could be possible at such a young age. And it really has made a lot of us realize how big of an impact not only Friends has had on culture, sort of being that one of those last behemoth shows before the era of streaming that everyone watched because you couldn't tune in the next day on a streaming service to watch it replay. If you didn't have a VHS in or you weren't watching it live, you didn't see it. And Friends was one of those shows, and Chandler was really at the core of its comedy. He had that sort of biting wit, but was also so warm and relatable. And that really anchored the show. And I think now there's sort of a reassessment happening, sadly, about how influential his style of comedy and how influential that show has been on the entertainment landscape, and in fact just so many people's lives, and how many people's lives he in particular touched with his comedy.
Well, that's right, and a global name as a result. And the actor himself so open about his own struggles.
Absolutely. He detailed his struggles with addiction in his 2022 memoir, but has also spoken about it in the past. I mean, he has gotten very granular, into what happened to him and what he endured. He's talked about how he realized he was probably an addict and an alcoholic around the age of 21. And by the age of 25, he got the role on Friends and became overnight really a mega superstar. Again, on the level of something that we don't see as much today in terms of that sort of ubiquity and that as much really true overnight success. And the fame didn't really fill the void that he was hoping it would. And when it didn't, that's when drugs and alcohol became something that, by his own admission, he turned to. But he wanted to document his struggles and share them with people in hopes that that would inspire other people. He said that he wanted to be remembered as someone who lived well, loved well, but that helped other people. And I think it's hard to argue with the fact that he did help other people, both with telling his story and with bringing so much joy to hundreds of millions of people.
Well, Shawn Mandel, we appreciate your time. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on that news that Matthew Perry has died at the age of 54. Thanks, Shawn.